Now this is a world of difference. You will see that Christianity and Buddhism is very, very different. Let's have a look at Pope Francis' tweets today, because for me this is fun. Pontifex. All right, I even know his Twitter handle. All right, so let's not look at the latest one, but from the 2nd of March. No, let's look at, the 2nd of March. All right, we could read all of these, but let's first start with his tweet from the 2nd of March this year. So it's funny how Dalai Lama doesn't follow anyone, but he follows 8 people. I don't remember who they are because I don't have a Twitter anymore, but you see there are a lot of people here. There are 53,000 likes, the heart. There are 1,600 responses. There are 14,000 shares, and it depends on the tweet, of course. But so this is still, it's still relevant. He's still popular, and so forth. So this is still, Nietzsche. He supposedly declared God dead, but you see, we're still not there yet. We still rely on Father in this heaven. We still cannot own ourselves. This is the opposite of owning yourself. And you will see a big difference here between the Dalai Lama and the Pope here. Look here, Pope Francis. Sometimes we may feel we are alone in facing difficulties. Now you see, all right, already there. Yes, we are alone, but we gotta learn to love to be alone. Otherwise, you can never own yourself fully, and you will always rely on others. And if you're down, then you can't pull yourself up. You have to be able to, by yourself, pull yourself up, because no one else is going to care for you. No one else is going to do this for you. I'm the only one who cares for your health. Virtually, I'm the only one. I mean, there are people, but very few people truly care about your health. Truly. I deeply, deeply care about health because I went deep within the core and I realized, what we are in our deepest, in the deepest despair. But you see here, but even if He, God or the Lord, but even if He doesn't intervene immediately, the Lord walks by our side, and if we keep going forward, He will open up a new path. You see, it is pure blind faith. It is not by you taking action. It is pure blind faith of the Lord being by our side and always watching you. You see, there is a huge difference here from the Dalai Lama and when he speaks of taking action and so forth. So the Dalai Lama he's miles ahead of the Pope here, miles ahead. The Lord walks by our side as if we were all children. And obviously He thinks we are children. Look here, the tweet day before here, March 1st. In order to pray well, we need to have the heart of a child. Now, first off, I don't believe prayer works at all, because you can pray all day and nothing will happen. You gotta take action on everything, on your desires. And essentially, everything we are is desire. David Hume was very correct when he said we're only slave to our passions. We overrate, rationalism. We're not just rational creatures. We're barely rational creatures. We're virtually just moving on our passions and desires. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is our nature. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to, parent ourselves. We can't be children. We should have a heart of a child, but we should also have a heart of an adult. We should have both. It's not just one here, all right? We can't just be naive. We have to also face reality. We have to grow up as well. We have to do both. But we also want to keep the joy, of course, always the inner joy. Otherwise it won't work in the long run. Nothing will work. But you see, there is a huge difference here between these two. Obviously, I like the Dalai Lama much more than Pope Francis. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm not talking about him being a nice guy or not a nice guy. I'm talking here about a mentality, a philosophy here that still lingers in the human condition here. And, you know, it doesn't want to let go. It doesn't want to let go. It doesn't want to grow up. You know, it's 2,000 years ago. We should grow up. It's been 2,000 years now. We should grow up as a species. All right? We have to do that. We have to do this, or else we cannot ever advance. Because growing and change, you fear changing this philosophy. You fear in your innermost, you know, being, you fear letting go of this identity. Letting go of, we should always create our new selves each and every day, all the time. Never fear, you know, my old past, my old memories, my nostalgia. Lately I've thought a lot about nostalgia. I know it's easy to just say, just drop your nostalgia, just drop the past. But you gotta do this. You focus on the new. Let's say you want to create a new book or something. You're an author, or I don't know what you are, but let's say you want to create a new book here. You focus just on this book. You focus only on this task. You focus on nothing else. And you know, you daydream your book. You daydream your ideas. Whatever it is, you daydream these. That's how you get inspired as well. You take a walk, you look at nature, you look at the crows, you look at the birds, you get inspiration. That is how you get ideas. That is how ideas become made flesh, so to speak. And so, because you are a body, the ideas is in your mind. You know, body and mind, they are, you know, in reality it's one. The connection between the brain, you know, and our throat and, you know, the body, it's all a connection. It's not a separate thing here. We know this both from biology. We can look at it from physics, everything. Now Pope Francis, he actually was a chemist. So it's pretty funny how he was a chemist and yet he sees God, and, you know, I think he's almost like a pantheist. I know that would be, you know, blasphemy for him. But perhaps that's why a lot of people don't like him. I mean, for a pope, I think I like him more as a pope than most people, but I mean, that's so obvious. Let's look at the latest one as well. Let us hear the cry of the earth, wounded in 1,000 ways by human greed. You see, human greed, it's always, you know, we hate this human part of human nature. You see, I hate all philosophy that hates part of human nature. It denies the human greed part of nature. We can't do that. We can do this, but we will suppress this, and it will just get worse and worse and worse. We might, you know, be still in history. We'll never advance as a species. We'll always be stuck, and stuckness is death. Life is motion. We know this from Heraclitus, from Nietzsche, from whatever I'm saying. I'm always talking about this. So we gotta move, you know. And human greed, there is nothing wrong with human greed, which is technically human power, human will to gain, you know, momentum and take what is yours, and not just, you know, you gotta take what is yours. There is no other way. You gotta go above other people. You gotta be willing to go above other people. Other people have to become beneath you. That is why I'm talking about, you know, eagles fly above, you know, and look at everyone else. They're above everyone else. And the same, you know, like I said yesterday about the mountain. The guy at top of Mount Everest, he is above, and everyone else is beneath him. He's above everyone else. All of those people who want to climb Mount Everest, he's above them. He's above them. Now, of course, there's been a couple of these people at the top, but you see only a few are great. Only a few get to the top. Only the very few. Only the very few. And it doesn't mean that the most popular and the most, most mainstream, which Christianity is, it's the biggest religion in the world, and second is Islam. Those are the two biggest, and they're both Abrahamic religions. And so, doesn't mean that the most is the best. Doesn't mean that. No, actually, in fact, the great contrarian is the best. The one who just goes against every mainstream, that is the greatest. The most beautiful small little river is way more beautiful, has many more pearls in it than the oceans. The depth of the oceans, the oldness of the oceans, all that baggage, there is so much of it. But when you look at this little river there, it is so beautiful, you can drink from it. While in the ocean, you can't drink from the ocean. But from the river, you can drink from the river. It gives you life. It gives you energy. It gives you processes within you. Your body starts to create its own water with the external water you're drinking. And it gives you health. You see, the main stream is not the answer. The one stream which you are, each and every individual, is this. I am in my way and you are in your way. We all have our own cores. I see all people as their own core. It's just that I see them as undeveloped. They haven't sculpted themselves. They're undeveloped characters. Instead of developing yourself. You're not born, a strong tree is not born as a strong tree. It's born as a seed. So that is the ultimate core. But then you gotta grow, and you will have imperfections, but that tree with imperfections will look much, much more interesting. It will be more fascinating than any other tree. It will be much more fascinating than other trees. The oldest trees in the world, those trees that are 5,000 years old, they're much more fascinating than all these, fast-growing trees that just get cut and used for energy, and they only grow a couple of years. They will never be interesting. Never. The masses are never interesting. All right. So you see human greed here. We can't deny human greed. It is good. It is a good thing if it's channeled correctly. And that's the whole point of my philosophy. It should be channeled correctly. There is nothing wrong with starting a business. There is nothing wrong with this, as long as you have a deeper sense of purpose, a deeper sense of, helping in some sense, creating value, as they always speak of in the business world, creating value. Well, you create value. Sometimes actually, a lot of them, they're even blind to their own, terminology. The same way in philosophy and artistry and everything. You see, people are the same. It doesn't matter which genre we are talking about, all right? We can talk about anything, and they're usually blinded by their own language and their own subject. The businessman sees the world through business. The philosopher sees the world through philosophy. The artist sees the world through artistry, craftsmanship. It's none of this. It is all of them or none of them, all right? It is all of them or none of them. Or most likely it's all of them, because none of them would be, then human truth, human truth and human experience wouldn't be correct, and then there is no point in living and so forth, and so that's the opposite of experience, so non-experience. But the thing is, there is experience, and the fact that there is experience, even if it is illusion, doesn't matter. Even if it is illusion or delusion. It doesn't matter. The fact that we can feel it, it is the most important thing that exists. So what I'm saying here is that we can't deny this, because when we deny this, it will just get worse. We know this from psychology. You just keep on, suppressing everything, it will just get worse. Sexuality. Keep on suppressing sexuality, it will just get worse. You got to go out there and face your fear. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's sexuality, or if it's, a fear of, some people have fear of, spiders or something. then it's better to just touch a spider, or get close to them and you face it. You face that it's in front of you and just face it. That is a much better thing than just keep on going on and on about and being anti-human. He's anti-human here. The Pope is anti-human here. He's anti-human. He's not a friend here. He's anti-you. He's anti-you. Let us hear the cry of the earth. Yeah, sure. Wounded by 1,000 ways by human greed. Sure, I mean, we have, there are problems we've created for Earth. But the problem is not Earth, it's us. I mean, and it's not us, it's the way we behave. We don't have a guiding tool for anything. We don't have a guiding tool. They supposedly have, should be a guider here, but there is nothing to guide here. How am I supposed to use this and live? How am I supposed to use this and live? There is no way you can live. There are so many greater people, even on YouTube, that are much greater than Pope Francis here. And people so simply, it's so simplistic. It's so, people are they just love it. But what can you do, Let us allow her to remain a welcoming home in which no one feels excluded. So yeah, here we go again. Everyone should be excluded, no discrimination. But you discriminate all the time, every single day. You can't do everything, so you have to discriminate. You can't be everything, so you have to discriminate. Michael Jordan is not everything. He discriminates everything except being the best basketball player in history. He discriminated everything else. Now, obviously, afterwards, he began, to play. He loved other sports, baseball and other sports. But every single person will remember him as Michael Jordan, the basketball player. The same with Muhammad Ali, the boxer, the legendary boxer. The same with Nietzsche, the legendary, artist, philosopher. The same with, you should work for eternity. You should work for eternity, not for temporary. I think that's a new word, temporarity. Temporarity. Is that a new word? Yeah, it doesn't exist, I think. You should work for that which is eternal, well, the closest to eternal we can get, not don't be mediocre. Don't be mediocre. The mediocrity is just working for the moment. Now, obviously, you need some of that as well. But in the long run, we're talking about the eternal, or, you want to create a legacy here. You want to create something that will move humanity forward. It is something new. You got to create something new out of whatever it is your passion, your obsession is. Whatever your talent within this is as well. You can't just have an obsession and never have a talent within this. You have to have your talent within this as well. Otherwise, you can't, you gotta create something. You gotta create something. You gotta be a creator. You gotta be a creator. Now, that's why, in dopamine fasting, you got to become a creator. That is the ultimate way you getting out of all of social media and all of nonsense. So you see, there are such a big difference between the Dalai Lama and Pope Francis here, or Christianity and Buddhism. Such a big difference. It's incredible. He's speaking of, blind faith and it never talks about taking action here. Never. He just preaches. They're just preachers. They just talk, but they never make. They just talk, never make. They never create. And yes, welcoming home. I mean, the coziness. It's all, preservation here. You see Nietzsche, he exposed the mentality of Christianity fully. I don't even have to do anything here, except just repeating his mentality. Allow her to remain a welcoming home, comfort, never taking risk. Advancing humanity was built on risk. It was built on creating stuff, creating things moving beyond knowledge. At the darkness, there is darkness there. You can't really see, but you're finding the new. That is how it is to create a new philosophy. You're constantly going deeper and deeper within your own philosophy. Whatever you already have as factors, then you use those factors, of course. You have all these patterns, all the knowledge, all the wisdom and experience as well. And then you combine everything. You go deeper and deeper within this. You find new waters. You have your own river, but you find all these new pearls within your water. You find new ways of the water to move along the earth. So it is that is what a true human, that is the human spirit. That is what we're looking for, especially eternally, or as long as we can, of course. As long as the human species exists, as long as someone can find our art and technology and history and everything else, all our books and everything we know, all knowledge, everything we know. Let's say an alien comes here, we destroyed ourselves, for example. Alien comes here, they can still read about us because they're highly intelligent. They will figure out our language and everything, or use computers or whatever they call them, and they will understand who we are, and our memory will move along, and the knowledge is that's why I'm talking about my third principle is the purpose principle of my third principle. I have 3 purpose principles: helping yourself, helping others, and then helping others through a medium. And that is the through a medium there. You got to create something either on YouTube, you got to create a poem, you got to create a business, you got to create, you got to create something, entertainment, you got to create something that will work even thousands of years from now, thousands and thousands of years from now. If you read Nietzsche from 1,000 years from now, it will still work. If you read Einstein's theory of relativity, it will still work. At least for now. But there's always advancement. You can still read Sir Isaac Newton's mechanics. It's still, there is still some correctness there. We know that it's not fully like that, but on that level, it is still true on that level. So, reality has different layers, so to speak. So you see, we got to create something great here that will move humanity all the time, but that is what it is to create the new. That is what it is to create the new. And you got to be this spirit. And I know a few people are this, but you can't have this denial of humanity. You got to instead channel everything correctly so that you can do your task and everything else. Otherwise, this is very unhelpful. This doesn't help at all. So those are my thoughts, my deeper thoughts on, his mentality here. I don't care for, I don't want to rely on anything or anyone or any ideology, nothing. I rely only on myself, and everyone else should create their own philosophy. They should every single person should create their own philosophy. They should create their own art. They should create their own expression. They should create their own business. They should create their own partners. They should create their own friends, not based on anything except their own criteria, only their own criteria. What is my innermost desire? You see, we went back to David Hume here. What is my innermost desire? And we don't deny our human nature. And that will be it. That will be it. And that is the true way of living, because if you deny this, if you never work on this, you will either, get depressed or, you will be insecure all your life. You will never have this. I've noticed that some people call it, workflow, but it is just obsession. And for, a lot of authors have this, you're obsessed with your book, you get it done, you create it, and, and that is, inspiration. And that is what I wish most people were like. But I understand that actually I don't wish, because if I wish that, then I wouldn't be special. So if you are like this, it is good that you're special, because then you're different, then you're contrarian, and not contrarian just for the sake of being against everything, but being against everything because they're not right, because you have your view of life. I love Steve Jobs when he speaks on this. You have your view of life. Don't let anyone else define what living should be like for you. You decide this. You decide this. The only thing I'm saying here is never to deny this. The meta. I'm the meta part of it. I'm the meta part. So, and you have multiple layers of meta, of course, but all right, so that's it. Those are his thoughts and these are mine against his. And you have to be against. You can't just accept everyone, never exclude anything or anyone. I mean, that's impossible. It's just impossible. It is fantasy, it's childish, you gotta grow up. But not just you gotta grow up, you gotta develop yourself, but you also have to have joy and never grow up this, you still have to be playful as well and laugh and, have fun. Have joy. Joy. I love the word joy. That's one of my favorite words. Perhaps I'll do a word video someday. My favorite words. All right. I will see you tomorrow.